We ride together, we die together. We some petty bitches, boo. We holding it down, we straighten the crowns, petty bitches, and we coming to you. We ride together, we die together. We some petty bitches, boo. We holding it down, we straighten the crown, petty bitches, and we coming to you.
I mean, he could do like one album a year, and Warner Brothers was really mean to him. So when he wanted to do like a double album or something like that, he had to push really hard to do that because they didn't want him to. But he created so much music that he had enough for more than, like double albums. But I think the reason that he got like The Time and Sheila E. and Vanity 6 and all that kind of stuff, like he did those albums because it was a way for him to release more music that he wrote, but he did it under somebody else. Like he performs literally all of it except for the lead vocals, and then they just put their vocals on it. So
good to know. I just learned a fun fact today.
Amen.
Yeah, if you need to know about plans,
the power of print. Johnny's even
well, you guys, welcome back to the PAB podcast. I don't even think they realized you were recording yet.
No, you were recording.
Yeah.
I don't like your attitude, Ashley.
Oh my gosh. Don't let her talk to you like that.
This is going to be a very hostile.
When am I not hostile, though? But yeah, welcome back to PAB podcast. We're doing a Zoom call today because I think Ariel needs to explain this because it's all her fault.
It's actually not my fault.
Don't roll your eyes at me. Don't roll your eyes at me.
Don't blame me for shit that's out of my control. Very much. So one of my coworkers, managers, was tested positive for coronavirus. And so me, I don't really I try to go into the office after everybody leaves, and then I have my mask and my hand sanitizer ready, steady, go. But just for precautionary purposes, I got tested. I won't get the results until next week. So we decided to Zoom it out this time.
She does feel fine though, so
I feel
also a
honestly
plus
I feel
side.
perfectly fine. Like no aches, no pains, no coughs. No.
Yeah, but that's the problem, right? If you're
Exactly.
Yeah.
It all
so that's why I got it.
Yeah.
I got tested because I have my mom who has autoimmune deficiencies. So I was just like, let me just be on the safe side. But also, I don't plan on going back because I don't know how many people have gotten tested, and I'm just not going to risk it.
Where do you
smart cookie sometimes?
It's an accounting business firm.
Oh, and they have you come in for that? Like you can't do it from home?
I can do it from home. They're just very anal retentive.
even my because I work at a law firm, and I don't know if I should say this.
That's why we're very cautious about what we say for work.
They're really, like yours, except the weird thing is like they are letting us work from home, and I'm very surprised about it. Like I was like, I mean, I could be doing this the whole time. I don't ever have to go into the office. Like there's never a reason to, but I just find it weird that some places do that. Like, and I was certain that mine was going to, but thank goodness they didn't, because I don't want to be with those people. And like in the first week that we got sent home, somebody was tested positive for coronavirus like that week, and I was like,
ooh,
yeah. I mean, if you knew my office, I swear, I'm pretty sure all of them have it. They're all just awful.
I'm sorry. It is a law firm though, so you're working with a bunch of lawyers. So
I mean,
yeah,
stereotypical there.
Some of those,
but yes,
the lawyers are nice, but yeah. For anybody hears this, I like the people that I like. I'm sorry.
I mean, there's only certain people I like at work, so I get it.
Some people that I don't even acknowledge work with me.
You're so rude.
I'm unemployed.
Welcome to Rona.
Well, that actually fits you, Ashley, to be honest. So just make sure that you follow us at the PAB podcast on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Make sure you subscribe to us on YouTube. And so we have some very special guests, one very close and dear to my heart, although she won't take my heart because she hates me. Just
It's
saying.
not hate.
It is hate. It is hate. We have Ashley and Johnny who have a podcast called One Foot on the Ground, which is very funny if you want to listen to movie commentating. Just saying. So guys, introduce yourself.
Oh, this is Johnny.
Why do you guys do that, by the way? Like, I always get curious about that.
I can't remember why. I think we just did it one day.
Yeah, we like recorded an opening and we did it in 3 tries, I want to say. And like
we also recorded like multiple first episodes because
yeah,
we just did not get it right. Like we're still changing it up. So
yeah. Well, even when we recorded the first few episodes, I don't know if we had our name when we like
no.
did.
No, we did
when
not.
we did like The Day Deer Stood Still and Bowfinger and
That sounds dirty.
Because we didn't
Bowfinger.
Yeah, starring Steve Martin. Steve Martin? Yeah. And Eddie Murphy?
Yes.
That still just
What's
sounds
wrong with
worse.
my brain? I love that movie.
I've never heard
Don't
of this
remember who's in it, but I love it.
Yeah, Heather
so Ashley is actually my niece who is 6 months older than me, in case you guys didn't catch it earlier. But we wanted to have a really good conversation with being Pride Month about the LGBT community. I always get this wrong. I am very politically incorrect, so there you go. I get it from my family. Ashley knows this. I'm a blonde naturally. So one of the things that
in the world.
Okay, I'm working on it. I'm working on it.
You're trying. You're trying. That's all that matters.
Yes.
The whole LGBTQ. Like
QIA plus.
I'm never gonna. I mean,
no, it's like saying the alphabet backwards.
Seriously, it's there's a lot of letters in there. I have no idea what half of them mean, and they keep adding some, and I'm like, well, I don't know who anybody is anymore.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well,
what
I don't want to.
I is, or maybe even the A.
The
They're
what?
Like plus.
Well,
I'm like plus.
That's what I was thinking. Asexual.
What does a plus mean? Just and more?
I think it just means more. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Like you guys too.
Yeah, you.
I
think it's because they kept adding letters, and people were like, "Good God, just put a plus sign!" Like, because there's so many. I don't know. And it's funny because all this stuff, like within, I guess within the community of LGBT. I keep looking at it. LGBT.
I feel bad wanting to say the gay community or the queer community, but I feel like that's not correct.
I say queer, but I also say it's all the people who are just not straight. Like
I like that. That one.
All the people who are not straight.
I would say queer community, or gay community. I mean,
they're kind of umbrella terms.
I think we know what we're talking about. I don't know. I mean, I do know that there's a lot of sensitive folks out there that want you to be very politically correct. I mean, even with the, what do you call it? And I'm 40, so I guess I'm in a different slot or something. But it's like the people that want to be referred to non-binary or something. I don't know.
Yeah, non-binary.
Them, they.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, I can't. I mean,
I just don't know.
I'm right there with you.
It's exhausting. I have no idea what anybody is anymore. And this is honestly, I just shut myself in the house. I'm so glad there's a quarantine because I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want to have to address anybody wrong. So,
I mean, I worked with when I was baristaing, managing the coffee shop. There's a lot of different people that would come in, and it wasn't like at first it seems a little like, I'm gonna say the wrong thing. But after a bit, you just like it just rolled right off the tongue for me anyway. And I do know that I am better than the rest of you, but
Well, at that, you
I actually was waiting for that.
well, but I think that's the whole thing is like, I don't understand when I'm supposed to be using these different things. Like, I mean, do you have a t-shirt on that says this is how you address me? Because how the hell would I know?
or we had
We need to
buttons.
start wearing name tags.
People would have buttons that would say she, her, they, them, he, him.
I mean, do people really do that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Still?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, well,
They'll do
Yeah,
good
that.
for
and
them, I suppose.
like, and when I had a
Good for-
non-binary person work for me,
What?
like they had said something because I was saying yes, ma'am, and then they had asked me at some point, like, is that like a regional thing? Because everyone down here says yes, ma'am. And I was like, yeah, I guess it's kind of like a southern form of respect.
Yeah.
And yeah,
I got a
you,
lot to say about that because I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. And it was not like that in Connecticut because I lived up in Connecticut until we moved to Georgia. And the ma'am thing, and I've been called ma'am since I was a kid. So I don't like it. I don't understand why it's a thing down here in the South. I don't like it at all. I think it's rude. And this is the only time that I get what people are talking about when they're misgendered or whatever. But at the same time, like, I'm doing it because I'm a fucking dude with a big ass beard half the time. Like, why are you calling me ma'am? And it happens, like, they'll say it to my face just because of how I sound. And I'm like, what? The only time I like it is when I get something for free because of it. Or or when I used to call in to the school and like be like, my son will be out today because I sound just like my mom. So
I think that's weird though that they would confuse you for a ma'am. Like if you have a beard like that, I don't know. I guess
Like,
you can't go by what you
Are
see
they trying to
anymore.
be like funny or rude or just
no.
No,
I think
like,
half
it
the
just
time,
comes out like
oh yes, ma'am, and then John's
okay,
like,
and then you move on. And then you're like, oh my god, I'm so sorry. No, that's not what I meant, kind of situation.
them, they never apologize. They don't give a
I
shit.
was just gonna say that. No, they commit.
No, they like. In fact, one time, my favorite example. Well, actually, there's a few, but one of my favorites was at Starbucks because I was a barista for 10 years, I think, something like that. And they, it was like I was making the beverages and handing them off. And when you work there, there's like this group of people that think that their beverage is next no matter what.
Yes.
So they're like hawks over at the handoff. And you have to make sure that they're not going to pick up somebody else's beverage because they'll do that. They'll just grab whatever if they hear, they're not even listening. They're just like, just grab things. So you always have to make sure that when those people are there, like you're calling out the beverage and holding on to it and like, okay, this is a grande mocha for hope or whatever. And I did that and I was holding on to it and I was like right in their faces because I knew that they were going to try to do it. And they did. They tried to reach for it. And I was like, this is a grande. And the one woman looked at the dude next to her and said, what did she say? And he's like, I don't know what she said. And I was like, and I'm sitting right there, like my face is right there. And I'm like, I'm a guy. And they looked at me like they were so confused. And I was like, no, what is wrong with you? And I literally walked away. I walked away. I was like, I'm done making beverages. Somebody else can do it. I'm done.
Oh.
But I had to call the IRS because there was something wrong with my tax return one year. That was awful because I was on the phone with this guy and it must have been 10 minutes of him getting all the information, trying to figure out what was going on. And at the end of getting all my information, he's like, and what relation are you to John? And I was like, I am John. And he's like, no, you're a woman. And I was like, what? And I was like, no, I'm John. That's me. Like, I'm not a woman. And he's like, yeah, right. And then he hung up on me. And I was like, what?
That's fucked up.
And I called back and I was furious. And the person, it was hysterical because the person that answered the second time, I would have thought was a man. And it turns out it was a woman. And I was like, see, this is why we don't assume.
Well, but also to be so committed. To be like, no, you're not.
No, you're not. You laughed at me. And
To be honest,
I'm being
though,
pranked, and then hangs up.
to be honest, though, I probably would have done the same.
I would have
You
just apologized.
on Johnny?
you would have hung up on me?
That's
No, I probably would have been like, no, you're not.
oh Lord.
I would have hung up on you, but I would be like, no, you're not. You're a woman. Come on, don't try.
This is a joke. Where's Ashton Kutcher?
Yeah, being punked right now. So Ariel, we were discussing
Wait,
like how we go through
Let
the
me
topic.
finish my story.
Oh,
I don't
asked
want to hear
them
your
what their
story.
pronoun was, and then they just told me it was they.
that's,
That was it.
that's what I thought. Just be like, hi, your name is what I go by. If they said she or him or somebody would have corrected me. That's how I figured
Yeah.
I've never met a they, them, other.
Well, I don't understand why I'm addressing anybody. I mean, I can't logically think of a time that I need to say that her over there. I mean, I'm trying to think of when I would
That her over there.
I mean,
Yeah.
I guess
I can tell you.
if you're with someone and you introduce somebody to somebody else.
Oh, I don't do that. I don't do that.
Yeah, no, John's pretty rude.
Never mind.
I gave up on that years ago because first of all, I forget everybody's names, so I have no clue who anybody is. And that's literally why I stopped introducing people, because I would forget everybody's name and I have no clue. So I was like, I just figured they'll do it themselves. Or when I moved here, everybody already knew each other from school. So I kept trying to introduce people and they're like, yeah, we've known each other since kindergarten. And I was like, okay, well,
Hold on. Fuck you.
so I'm not gonna do it anymore. So I stepped out. But I don't do that.
So we so how did you guys go about your coming out story then? I know Ashley's kind of, but it wasn't really. I feel like Ashley should.
Yeah, she wants to know
But-
your coming out story. I'll follow up.
Yeah, because I think Ashley's coming out story was funny, but that's more so I think it's funny for my sister.
Yeah, my mom walked in on me. So Johnny.
But she didn't realize.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, so
Mine
Johnny, go.
Mine was kind of boring. It it didn't really. I mean, because how do I explain this? So I grew up gay as fuck. Like it was very
As you do.
obvious to everybody. Like, I mean, I was called ma'am as a teenager. So I mean, I just always, like, literally, I think it was just always kind of like everybody knew, but it wasn't talked about until obviously I talked about it. But I don't know. It was just like one night. Well, I think it finally got to a point where I had to start saying something because I kept making out with guys in my car at different places, and people would like kind of catch me doing it. And I was like, oh, well, I'm going to have to say something at some point. So, so me and my mom used to, because this is when I worked at Hollywood Video, and I was up late at night because we would close at like midnight or something. And so I would come home, and my mom has really bad insomnia. We all kind of do, but she had really bad insomnia. So she was usually when I came home.
I think we lost Johnny.
We were watching
Johnny.
something gay, I think. I can't remember. But it was like Boys on the Side or something. And
Another movie I've never
the
heard
topic came up. Yeah. The topic came up, and I kind of said to her, I said, well, you know, or no, I think she asked me about dating or something. And I was like, well, I don't know. What if I decided to bring home somebody one day and introduce you or whatever? And she's like, that would be fine, I guess. And I said, well, what if it was a guy? And she's like, John, are you trying to tell me you're gay? And I was like, yeah. She's like, we already knew that, John. We were just waiting for you to say something. She's like, we all know you're making out in the parking lot at Hollywood Video. Your sister saw you. So so that happened. And then we were like laughing hysterically about something. And my dad came out of the bedroom like half asleep. And he's like, what's going on? And my mom's like, oh, John's gay. And my dad's like, oh, okay, good night. But
I think
I
partly
would
why
just
we
wanted to do it at Thanksgiving, but it didn't happen.
well, part of the reason why we're asking is because, like, Ariel said that, like, I don't come out and say I'm black. I don't come
Yeah,
out and say
like,
that I'm white.
or I'm straight. Like, it's such a weird like, I expect if I have a child that is gay, it'd probably be like Johnny's story. Like, one, I either already knew, and two, I'll love you no matter what. That doesn't bother me. So, and
Yeah.
I'll have your back no matter what. Like, it's me and you against the world. Kind of how I was with my mom. Like, nobody's gonna love you like your mother. Nobody's gonna have your back like your mother. And I think that's the kind of mom I would be. Like, I really wouldn't care. I mean, as long as you're happy, healthy, and you're not harming you or anybody else, I could no, I don't have those issues. But I always found it strange that people had to come out to their loved ones or people around them for being
Standard.
who they are.
What was that, Ashley?
Straight is the standard, you know? So you gotta
Yeah.
let people know when you're deviating from the plan.
Yeah, you. Sorry.
So it wasn't that like I didn't know I was a queer person. Like I kind of knew, I just didn't have like strong feelings for any one person.
Right.
Until I mean, I don't think it's fair because I was a bit of a tomboy to call me a lesbian, Estelle.
That's not why. Like, it's like
But like
when we said on the
Estelle, when we
phone the
were
other
growing
day.
up, homegirl was boy crazy, and I was like, I don't get it.
That's why. That is why.
Yeah, but it's not like I don't find boys attractive. Like it's just that, like I don't know. It's the same for women. I think I'm just more attracted to like the connection with a personality. So like I believe that like sexuality is a spectrum, and you know if you happen to like chicken over steak one day, then like whatever, who cares? But yeah, so I developed very strong feelings for a woman that I was surely in love with, and it was a weird situation because we were friends, and it was like weird for both of us because neither of us had been with the same gender before, and we were like how does this work? And yeah, so we were making out in my mother's house downstairs, and my like and we were like watching Seinfeld with the like lights off, so it was just like TV light, and and she was on top of me, and my mother had come in, and she was like, oh, I just wanted to see if you guys wanted anything for dinner. I'm gonna go meet up with your brother for dinner, so I was like saying goodbye, and like and then she left, and then Rachel was like, you gotta talk to your mother. And I was like, why? Because it wasn't about being gay. It was more about Rachel felt like she had disrespected my mother and wanted to be very clear and open. And I had the conversation with my mother for that reason. But the way her and I had come out is like we just met up with Johnny and another friend of ours, Erica, and we just showed up together and held hands. Like that was it. Like we didn't like say anything. We just like kept that pace, and we were just like we're together now.
See, I found it funny when Wendy told me this story,
Mhm.
which is I found it funny because like she was over here and she was like sitting there talking. Yeah, Ashley and her girlfriend did this, and like I like, oh, Ashley finally came out, and she's like, like freaked out, and she's like, I wasn't supposed to tell you, and I'm like, but you didn't really tell me anything. Like, it's not like it wasn't something that I already had known. She's like, well, how did you know? Because I didn't know, and I'm like for me, not that like you're like a typical like gay person, but
What's
from
typical?
knowing that, okay, I don't fucking start with me.
But I mean, she's
I
right.
think,
But it's one of
yeah, but like Johnny, his parents always knew. Like I guess just we always knew with Ashley. I always either thought she was asexual, just wasn't attracted to anything or anyone, or she was gay, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like it's,
Yeah.
I love her more for it actually. So
Oh, that's weird.
I love Katie. I mean, but it's the
I didn't
truth.
think that it was. I was like, why do I need to come out? Like, why can't you just like accept whatever it is I'm doing? Like, if I switched from regular coffee to decaf, I wouldn't be making an announcement.
Maybe you should
You would
actually
just
just
find out when we go to the coffee shop, and I'm like, oh, I'm drinking decaf now.
I mean, you're not wrong. The fact that we have to go through that is a little weird.
Yeah.
But I think you should just like send out a memo to everybody, like, "Hey, I'm drinking decaf now. Or I
right.
stopped drinking vodka." Like,
It would
Yeah.
explain a lot.
So pretty regular.
I think it would explain a lot.
so besides Johnny, like, dealing with
I
people
would
thinking he's a woman
say,
because of,
I would say that.
no, go ahead, Johnny. Like, there's a
Oh,
little bit of delay.
I think my internet's really bad. I'm sorry. I was just gonna say, I think it's
Go ahead.
what's wrong?
You keep
We're just waiting on you.
Okay, my
But if
internet's
you're
really
speaking,
bad.
we're not getting it.
On me?
It's all right. Yeah. You keep freezing on us.
I'm sorry.
Like,
Oh,
it's all
hold on.
That's the funniest thing ever. We're just like,
it is.
it's like watching those newscasts when it's delayed through the headphones, and you're just like,
Headphones.
you're like the audience member, like,
We're waiting.
Okay, I'm sorry.
You're
Is
good.
it better now?
I don't know.
I know. You have to start with your story. We'll let you know afterwards. You just freeze. We don't know.
It was the door was shut and the internet doesn't work well when it's the door shut.
That happens at your house too, because it happens at mine.
That's
Yeah.
so weird.
So I don't remember what I was going to say. So I have no clue.
That's even
All of
better.
that work.
We were talking about Ashley coming out.
Mhm.
Yeah, and like making an announcement, like having to make an
Oh
announcement.
yeah.
About
It
decaf
is.
and
I
regular.
guess it is. It is weird that you have to do that, but at the same time, it gets tricky for people. Like when I was dating or trying to date people, it's like you have no clue. Especially when I was younger, you have no clue who is and who isn't. So it's like, well, how do I know if I can even approach you? I mean, unless you go to a gay club, but then every time I'd go to a gay club back when I was younger, I'd always end up talking to some heterosexual person that came there with their friend. And I was like, well, what's the point? Like, get out of here. Why are you here?
Get the fuck out.
Why did
I
you waste
agree.
my
That is a little
time?
weird.
So to me, it's like, I don't think you should have to like announce it to everybody. But at the same time, like, it gets tricky, or it used to anyway. I mean, now I have a boyfriend, so I really don't care. But you don't have to
I mean,
worry about
I've
it.
been
Just
hit on by
rub it
people.
in.
I mean, it's just like, oh, sorry.
Well, I'm also not good at knowing when people are hitting on me either, and I cannot flirt, so I have no clue.
Dude,
Like, it just gets
same. It just
like,
gets
I
like
think,
too far, and then I'm like,
yeah.
oh.
Like, do you want to get married? Are we getting married tomorrow? Maybe.
Sounds like
I don't know. I don't know. I think it just gets or used to get tricky. I don't know. I guess nowadays it's probably a little easier, but And
Yeah.
I
I would
know that people are very attracted to me because of my beard. So, you know.
It's a
yeah,
strong beard. It's kind of
it
sexy.
is. It's
I'm getting turned on right now.
yeah, Ariel likes a good beard. I mean, I will let you know that straight people don't know how to flirt either. Like, but that's a whole nother story within itself. Dating life sucks. But anyways, um, so besides Johnny dealing with like people thinking he's a woman because of his voice, do you guys actually deal with discrimination on a regular basis or no?
I like to think that, and it's something I've been considering recently, and I think I may have told you this previously, Estelle, is that
Mm.
like I had more discrimination when I lived in South Florida, even before I was out, but it was the environment that I was in. And the moment I left, it became clear to me that like I can choose the environment like that I want to be in, you know? And like don't get me wrong, down there I was younger and so I didn't have a lot of say. I didn't move to
But
like
you were
near the
also dealing with a whole nother situation that
well, yeah, that too.
yeah,
Yeah. Like, yeah,
eh,
I like was abused for like a good bit and I don't know, like just hateful people just from all aspects, not just like being
I know.
like a bit more butch than the other girls or like being a little bit darker than my white family members, which you can't tell here. Uh
I
I don't
mean,
really
there's no
tell that
room to discuss
anymore.
that because Breeze looks like he's fucking Mexican. So I
Yeah.
mean,
That's an
Yeah,
insult.
and then yeah, and so like but like when I left, I was like I can just like create my own world like that's like a safe space for me. And like conventions for like people who love like Star Trek or Spooky Empire or whatever, like those started to make more sense. Like how like those are just like little pockets of homes where like you can connect with people who are just like you. And so I have friends that I keep around that don't care about those sort of things, you know? And I do try to connect with people who think differently from me because otherwise you're just screaming into an echo chamber, you know? But I try not to surround myself with hate because there's a difference from different thought and a different like plan than there is just being like wildly hateful. There's like no thought behind it. It's just like a reaction to what fear, insecurity, like so. I don't see a lot of it on the day to day. Also, I've been quarantined for 3 months. Um, so I can barely remember what the world was like before this. But I think I would get more discrimination just as a woman, like being told to smile or being told I would look prettier if I wore makeup or being excluded in like group chats like in work where like I'm like I mean, like, I get that they had like an established relationship before I arrived, but right now that just looks like a boys' club because I am equally and in parts more qualified than the others that are communicating. Uh, so it wasn't. I didn't feel a lot of discrimination for my queerness, but I don't think people like to challenge me. I think I look like a person who wants to fight.
you do.
But that doesn't stop men from being like, oh, you put on a smile. I just want you to feel beautiful. I'm like, okay, no, thank you. I feel more valued now that I know that you think that I need to be more presentable for you. Yeah. But Johnny's experience might be entirely different.
Yeah.
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 It is.
Mm.
It's I think, oh God. So obviously, yes, I felt it a lot. Um, I mean, growing up was horrible. I'm not going to get into all that, but it was bad. And then I would say, I mean, and that's like constant childhood was just people teasing me because I was, I mean, I don't think we had necessarily the gay, like, it wasn't like they were calling me a homosexual person. I mean, they would say fag and stuff like that, but it was more like they just knew that I was girlier, so that's what they made fun of. So, and that was constant. I mean, it was nonstop. And I think around middle of high school, because I went to 3 different high schools in 3 different states. I went to one in Georgia, one in Tennessee, and Florida here. And
Oh, sorry.
by the time I got to, well, Tennessee wasn't as bad because a lot of the people because I went to Spring Hill, Tennessee, and it was so small, and it was all people from Detroit because there was a car plant there. So it wasn't people from Tennessee, it was mostly people from Detroit. So I felt way more comfortable around those people because they didn't care. They were like, whatever, who cares? I mean, there were some, like very few, that were like native to the area. They weren't very nice, but it was way more, and it was a very nice thing to feel. And then I came back to Florida, or down here, and that's when I just kind of like stopped talking. I just stopped because I didn't want anybody to hear my voice, basically. So I just didn't talk. And like in class and stuff like that, I would just, like, if I would just avoid having to say something to anybody. And I remember in drama class, we had to finally do like improv or something, and and I hadn't talked to anybody, so nobody knew what I sounded like. And everybody was so excited because like they were finally going to hear me. I'd found this out later, that they were so excited that they were finally going to hear me talk, because I hadn't said anything except for like here. But even that I would say with a deep voice, because I didn't want anybody to question me or anything. So yeah, so I finally had to do an improv, and I used my deeper voice, and I used a Boston accent because we were supposed to have been bricklayers in Boston. And my nephews, or not my nephews, my cousins are from Boston. So I knew what that sounded like. So I was really good at it. And then, so at the end of it, they were all like freaking out because they were like, whoa, this guy, like, he's from Boston and all this. And I was like, no, I don't actually sound like that. I mean, I felt more comfortable with that group eventually, and that's because it was the drama kids. Like,
Yeah.
that's
We're open.
direct group to be around. But even that, like, it was still, I'm apprehensive about any new situation with people, which is why I don't like to get a new job most of the time, because I'm always like, what do I do? Like, how do I approach the situation? Because I've been fired for being gay before. So it's like you always go into it apprehensive. Like this the place that I'm currently at, I didn't talk to any, just like normal. I just didn't talk to anybody. And at that point I had a beard, and the beard is a very specific thing too. It's to make me seem manlier, because I'm not very manly. But if I don't talk, nobody has any idea that I would sound the way I do or whatever. So it's more like I'm creating an exterior that won't give me confrontation, if that makes sense. So I can go to the store and not have anybody. I mean, people stare at me no matter what anyway. It annoys the hell out of me. And even when I don't have a beard, people stare at me constantly. And I'm like, what are you looking at? What is so weird? And everybody thought I was nuts for years because I kept saying that to people. And they're like, John, nobody's staring at you. You're just paranoid. And I'm like, no, people stare at me. And then finally people started, like, when I hang out with people, they're like, people really do stare at you all the time. And I'm like, yeah, I told you, people stare at me. But anyway, but all this is just, it's more layers to conceal what people don't want to see about me, I guess. Of course, then I wear purple and pink and all kinds of ridiculous things. So I guess I'm not really good at it. But even like I said, at a new job, I won't talk to anybody for the longest time, just because I don't want to have to. I guess I just don't want to have to tell anybody that, hey, I'm gay and whatever. Like, and it was funny because the people that I work with now, they all, when I got into the office, new guy in the office, everybody thought I was the hottest dude. And they're like, you were so hot. And we all were like, oh my God, what is this guy? Like, they all wanted to get a shot at me or whatever. And
like a whole new world.
yeah, they were like, ooh, wow. And then finally I talked or whatever, and they were like, "Oh, never mind." Never mind. Although I did
Oh, God, never mind that.
there was a guy that worked there. It was really weird, and I don't know how to explain it exactly, but he was basically kind of doing the same thing, except he's way better at it than I am. And everybody was like, because I kept saying, I think he's gay. Like, I don't think because he was very heterosexual in quotations. Like,
Passing.
he talked about girls all the time and all this. It was like, he was like I don't know how to explain that. Just like a dude. Like
A douche. I
Yeah.
would go more like a douche.
Like was he like broy? Like a frat boy?
kind
Yeah,
of.
I would think a frat
Bitches,
boy.
man, am I right?
I would say I don't want to say anything rude or but he was I don't know how to explain that. Like a toxic dude of some sort. Anyway,
Oh, a fuck boy. So he was a fuck boy.
I guess is that a thing?
Yeah, I got excited.
That's what people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if he behaves that way, like going on and bragging about women that he's doing and shit.
That he's not actually
It-
doing. Yeah, he's a fuckboy.
Yeah, fuck boy.
Yeah. Then that's exactly what it was. And I can't. It was very weird how it happened, but I kept telling people, I was like, I think he's gay, and he stares at me all the time. So I was like, there's something weird about this guy. And then eventually, I can't remember how, but he got my number, or I got his number, or something, and he started texting me, and then all of a sudden, it got like raunchy. I was like, whoa! And then and then we ended up having sex many, many times. And then
Do you boo? Do you boo?
Moral.
Do you boo boo?
and and it was funny because like he didn't want me to tell anybody because of course he didn't want anybody to know. And of course I told everybody. And
As you should have, though.
Why?
If you're putting on this facade of being like this macho man, a fuckboy, but you're really in the closet, like, just I'm glad that he fucking
Yeah,
told
it's
everybody.
pretty,
I
Like,
did.
it's pretty
It pissed me
damaging,
off.
right?
What?
Well, I mean, the way he was reacting was pretty damaging, not just to like himself, but to others. And so if he's going around like degrading women, which is another thing, but like putting up this facade, it creates an environment that not only like he believes, but he's also telling other people that were, you know, in your workforce as well as you that being gay is not okay.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and like he doesn't have to outright say it. It's the fact that he's like hiding that within himself that
his
ripples
actions
that
show it.
message out, and that's not okay. You know, like it's
Yeah.
fine. Fuck dudes. You can fuck dudes and fuck women. Who cares? Like you can still be a fuck boy and still like to
Do
have
both.
dudes on your dick.
That's
Like
what the
it's
B
like
stands for, an LGBTQ. Plus.
yeah, it's just like just own it. People have far more respect for you when you're just like, yeah, like just like dick sometimes. Who cares? Like
And honestly, I
it's
think
like, oh wow.
after everybody knew, like they were like, oh, and nobody gave a shit. That was the thing. Nobody cared. My biggest thing was like, I just wanted to be right and to be able to tell everybody that I was right. Like,
John outed him for the wrong
Wait,
reasons.
can I know your sign though, Johnny? Like, where were you? What's your sign? Your
Zodiac sign.
astrological sign.
oh, Scorpio.
That makes fucking sense though, because Scorpios have to be right about shit. So no, that makes sense. Sorry.
And I was right. I was so right. I mean,
No.
I'm sure I'm right about most of the, and I think that's a thing that I picked up over the years of, like I said, like when it's hard to tell if somebody's gay or not, and you don't know if you can approach them, you kind of get, and I think this is the gaydar thing that people talk about, which I still don't believe in, but I do think that it's one of those things where you have to be able to read people really, really well to get a sense of whether or not you can approach that situation. And that's I think what that actually is. I think it's just, and that's me. I'm ridiculously observant about people. Like I don't know your name, but I know what you're like because I'm paying attention to everything that I can about you to make sure that I can, what is this going to work? Can I talk to you? That kind of thing. Like even in just not sexually, but like in a normal situation, like you have to be able
Like,
to read people quickly to figure out whether or not you can be comfortable being yourself around them. It's a thing you constantly have to do it. It's
no, I
exhausting. And this
it
I
is, but
prefer to stay at home.
I think
Yeah,
that's also an important life skill to have because it's like you're managing, you know, who you can talk to and how to read a situation. You have to be able to read people. So I
Absolutely.
guess it is
Yeah.
Gator, or
Get
maybe just
murdered.
human are.
yeah.
Yes.
I will say that it is significantly easier for a woman to be a lesbian. It's definitely far more accepted because porn. And
Yeah, I was gonna say men
like
like to watch
how do they
that.
even do that? They're basically hugging. Like,
Yeah.
uh I mean I did like as you were talking about like being different or trying to have like an outward difference to deflect any upcoming comments. Like
Mhm.
I did the same thing. Absolutely. I was called a dyke all the time when I was younger. And it was just like a constant thing. And if I like and it was only it wasn't it was only ever used in a negative way. Well, obviously, because like dyke's more like a slur. But it's but it was only ever used like if I like beat somebody at something, if I won something, I'm fucking dyke. And it's like I can't be better than you and also be a lesbian. uh but it's like I didn't want to be gay. Like I was like, surely I'm not, and then like it was like when I had met Rachel, like I was like, oh no, like I definitely am. Like I'm definitely in love with this person. There's like no doubt in my mind. Like not only um like did I have feelings, but I had feelings that I had never like felt with any other human being. And so I was like, well, like I can't deny like this. And I didn't, and mostly because I did have an abusive stepfather growing up who, would probably rang in the dykes the most. Uh I like didn't
I
want
think
him to
he
be
did
right.
ring him in the most.
Yeah, like I didn't want him to be right. And that's like but that wasn't fair to me. That wasn't fair to her, And so I had to come to peace and like let that go for whatever like little bit within me that I needed, like that I wouldn't address because out of spite. Like, yeah.
Yeah. I do know that like when you told me that like a few weeks ago when we were having a conversation, like my heart broke for you that you felt like that because like I said, I want to give you so much love just because like I love you so much for who you are. And
Yeah.
like to know that you were feeling those things growing up, like I
Oh
want
yeah,
to
I always
cry
felt
about it.
different for many reasons.
Yeah,
And I was like, I need to be like somewhere else.
no, and like, but it's funny now, like when you had told me that, it made me realize it's something that you need to go through moving away. But like to know that's how you felt growing up and that you couldn't feel that be who you are breaks my
Yeah.
heart a little bit because I love, like, I genuinely, it's weird. Like, I have a very weird relationship with how much I love you because you're such a good, wholehearted person.
Hmm.
And the fact that you felt that way all growing up
I
breaks
mean,
my
and like some
heart.
of it still sticks. Like it's not
No,
like
but
it'll always like be there, but it's
yeah,
just like making the effort to be
Pass.
better about it, you know?
yeah.
But again, like on not only does our do Johnny and I's experiences differ because like our genders, because there is a bias toward that, but we're also from two different generations.
Hmm.
Like while we are very like similar in many ways and Johnny and I do connect like very well as friendships, but we are 10 years apart. And so Johnny like lived in different environments that had mindsets that weren't as progressive as people were when I came out, you know?
Yeah.
Like and I came out like I was a barista, so everyone was gay. Like
That kind of thing, it really, I mean, as much as I love the progression that has happened even since I grew up,
mhm.
Well, since
like
this week, really, to be honest.
yeah, like
Sorry.
kids can be more themselves now than they ever could. And I love that, but at the same time, it frustrates me so much because I'm like, look at what I had to fucking do. Look what I had to go through. And it's like, like, why couldn't I do that?
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're
I
like,
mean,
you don't even know. You think Pride's a celebration. It's still a protest.
it's, I mean, kind
You're
of.
right though.
Yeah,
It
no,
is.
Pride is
It's
a
still like a
protest.
protest. It is.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like, I can't, I mean, it's just like anything, like, you can't go back and change it. Like, what happened to me is always just going to be what happened to me, and I can't change that. But, and I guess, I don't know, I guess it makes you a more interesting person, I guess. I don't know. Like,
Builds character.
Like,
Yeah,
Well,
but
I think it makes you a stronger person.
yeah,
well,
definitely.
I
Yeah.
think that you can be
Yeah.
strong in spite of it.